Now that the NFL trade deadline is over, the Detroit Lions team is predominantly set. I mean, somebody could get waived or a release from somebody else's roster that could wind up on the Detroit Lions. If they get waived, of course, we'll never get our hands on them. If they get released, they could possibly sign with the Detroit Lions. But assuming that does not happen, we are going to go into this playoff run with our current roster. Now, I know a lot of you guys want Ndamukong Suh to come back to Detroit, and I'm going to say that is not going to happen. A, because he has avoided this place for the last 10 years, and B, because I just don't think he fits what we're trying to do as far as his you know what I mean. I don't think Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are going to go for an Ndamukong type of Suh guy. So that leads me to the topic of today's video, James Houston. James Houston is eligible to come off IR, but due to the Detroit Lions only having 6 spots left, they have to be very careful of how they do this, because C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who is projected to be back for some type of playoff run, is also going to have to be elevated from IR. Then you have Hendon Hooker. Will he be redshirted this year or what? We don't know. But we failed to get Aiden Hutchinson some help. And we're going to have to go with the team that we have, barring a pickup in free agency. And I looked through the list of defensive end, and it's quite pathetic. One of the guys is crazy in Chandler Jones, and the other guy is, I think, has a warrant or something for his arrest, and Robert Quinn. I have so that's probably not going to happen. But the Detroit Lions currently, I want to make sure you guys can see this, they currently rank, after getting 6 sacks on Monday, they currently rank 13th. They're right in a little above middle of the pack. So you say the Cleveland Browns, the middle of the pack with even Myles Garrett, they're 20. But as you can see here, there are 4 teams that are in the middle of the pack. So right now, if you go by sacks alone, there are 4 teams with 21 sacks, but they are 1 sack less from being underneath this, and then 1 sack more being above. So you can see the leader here, still the Baltimore Ravens with 31 on the season. Now, just for reference, the Philadelphia Eagles, they had 70 sacks last year. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say the teams with the most sacks, it was like the Philadelphia Eagles, and then the next closest team was the Kansas City Chiefs, and they had like 58, somewhere around there. So if the Detroit Lions have 21 sacks after 8 games, with 9 games left, they're on pace to probably get maybe about somewhere around 55, somewhere around there. It depends on how things go, if they can get multi-sack games like they've been doing. But James Houston is probably going to come back. Now, just because he's eligible doesn't mean he's going to return anytime soon. He also has to, Dan Campbell said it probably will be December. So we're already in November. So we'll know, because he'll be elevated from IR, and then he will have that 21-day window that the Detroit Lions will have to decide what they want to do with him. So I'm thinking, and we talked about this in a different show, that we could possibly see James Houston for it's either going to be the Thanksgiving Day game or that first game in December, which means that once we take him off the list, we'll have to have that 21-day window. So that first game in December is going to be, we only play 3 games this month. We play the 12th, the 19th, and then the 23rd, and we don't come back and play again until December the 3rd. So we could probably see James Houston December 3rd, which means that in the next week and a half or so, probably after the bye week, which is the Lions don't play until the 12th, so that 21-day window will open then. But why is James Houston, in my opinion, our last hope? Now, when I say Aiden Hutchinson some help, I'm saying getting to the quarterback from the edge, because as you can see from this next screen that I'm about to bring in, here is the Detroit Lions when it comes to their sacks. Hutch has not had a sack in like 2 games, and he still leads the team in sacks with 4.5. That is our highest sack total. 4.5. Aleem McNeil got 2 on the Monday night game. So it took his total up from 2 to 4. Alex Anzalone, a linebacker, I want to say he got 2 as well, 3. So you have our defensive end, a defensive tackle, a linebacker. The next defensive end to show up on the sacks, the sack sheet is Charles Harris with 1.5. Then you have John Kaminsky. I thought he was more of a DT. and then Isaiah Buggs, who also, so they got DE, but Isaiah Buggs, Benito Jones, John Kaminsky, they kind of play more. I know Isaiah plays more inside. Kaminsky plays both. So Charles Harris, who we haven't seen him in forever, seems like. And he's played 7 games, but he's been missing in most of them, right? So we need somebody to come up here, a defensive end that's going to come up and help Aiden Hutchinson out. Now, James Houston. I remember last year, and again, I don't dislike James Houston. I just think he's too small. He doesn't have enough power. And if he can't get around you with speed, or he gets really low and can get around some of these bigger players, but if he doesn't do that, he's not going to win, in my opinion. And he's going to get stood up. I saw it during the Kansas City Chiefs game and the Seattle game, where he was a non-factor. Of course, he got hurt later on, but I'm talking about leading up to that. Now, he was on the practice squad. He was drafted in the 6th round. He was on the practice squad. And then I remember Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes was talking about how the team was talking about James Houston. Like, listen, you need to get this guy in the game. This guy can come in the game and really help us out. So it took the team to bring the attention to Dan Campbell. And when he came in, he immediately got to Josh Allen. He came in that Thanksgiving Day game where he came in and he had 2 tackles and they were 2 sacks. The 2 times he touched the ball carrier, they were sacks. His next game had a sack. His next game had a sack. His next game had a sack. He had a sack in 4 straight games. Then he didn't have one in that brutal loss to Carolina. He got 3 on Justin Fields, and then didn't have any in that last game. So, and what did he play? 7 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 7 games, had 8 sacks. And out of his tackles, he had 12 tackles. 11 of them were solo, 1 assisted. Out of those 11 total or solo tackles, he had 8 sacks. So he is what you call a sack specialist. And we are going to need his help. Now, we have no choice, because I showed you the list. I showed you the Detroit Lions roster and what it looks like if Aiden Hutchinson is not getting to the quarterback. Now, the San Francisco 49ers, they traded for Chase Young. As you can see, they were actually underneath us on the sack chart. I'm going to try and bring it back up here. They were underneath us on the sack chart. We are 13. They are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Even with Nick Bosa and that defensive line that they have, they are struggling getting home, just like we were and still are to some extent. Now, you guys are like, well, what are you talking about? We are 13th in the league in sacks. We just got 6. I've said it over and over and over, is we got, and shout out to Matt Derry, because I watched Locked On Lions, and I think it was yesterday's show. He mentioned out of the 21 sacks that the Detroit Lions have, okay, 18 of them came in the bunches, right? We got 7, we then got 6, and then we got 5, not in any particular order. 18 of our 21 sacks came in 3 games against 3 really bad quarterbacks. We had 3 sacks in 5 games against decent to above average quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Wilson Jackson. Good quarterbacks, Geno Smith, right? If we face a good quarterback, we typically do not get to that quarterback. So out of the 21 sacks that we've had, 18 of them have come against teams that don't have good quarterbacks. I'm trying to find the Detroit Lions schedule too, because I can't remember who we played in the middle, because my mind is all over the place. So we wind up getting 3 sacks against teams with subpar quarterbacks. Oh, the Atlanta Falcons was, Baker Mayfield. We got 1 against him. And then it was 1 more as well that I can't remember right now. But that's the deal. So Jordan Love, 5. Geno Smith, 1, right? Desmond Ridder, 7. Then we play, Bryce Young. He was the other one. He was the other one that we got. So we got to Geno Smith. We got to Bryce Young. And that's how it works, right? So we need somebody to come in and help Aiden Hutchinson. That's what is going to have to happen. And again, if Brad Holmes does not make a move in free agency or somebody gets cut, because if they get waived, they're never going to make it to us. With us on the waiver wire being second, we are currently second in the NFC. And if I go to standings, let me pull this in real quick so I can see exactly where we are. If we go to conference standings, we are in the conference. I'm sorry, the league. If we go, we are third. So we would be 30th on the waiver wire. 30th on the waiver wire. We are under the two teams that went to a Super Bowl and then us. So we would be 30th on the waiver wire. And if somebody was to get cut, there's no way they would make it to our team. So James Houston, I don't dislike the young man. I just think that he has one skill, and that skill is not dropping back in coverage, by the way. So I don't agree with that one bit. When he was out there, it didn't turn out too well. So for me, I know y'all love him. We're going to see if the kid can duplicate what he did last year. And this video goes on a little long, and I apologize for that. I don't like over 10-minute videos. But the last thing I'll say is this. Can James Houston duplicate what he did last year? Last year, he was a surprise. He surprised everyone with his speed. He won't do that this time. He has to have another trick in his bags, right? So we'll see. But at this point, we don't have too much of a choice. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How much do you think Houston is going to help Hutch when it comes to edge rushers and sacks? You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. On a push to, I think we're trying to get to 15.6. So consider subscribing and let me know if you have seen the animated subscribe button yet. Take care.